The early morning hours of August 30th, 2013, were quiet and cool in Castaic, California. A light fog lingered over the rugged landscape near Castaic Lake, where winding roads carved through dry, rocky hills. The serene beauty of the place stood in sharp contrast to what authorities were about to discover, a chilling scene that would spark one of the most perplexing mysteries of recent times. There, at the base of a 25-foot embankment, lay a wrecked 2003 Toyota Highlander. Its back window had been shattered from the inside, shards of glass glittering in the morning light. Inside the car, personal belongings were scattered. Bryce Laspisa's wallet, phone, and laptop sat undisturbed. But Bryce himself was gone. The question of what happened to Bryce Laspisa has haunted investigators, his family, and internet sleuths for over a decade. How does a seemingly normal 19-year-old college student vanish without a trace? What makes this case even more disturbing are the bizarre events leading up to Bryce's disappearance. Cryptic messages, erratic behavior, and inexplicable decisions painted a picture of a young man seemingly on the brink of something no one fully understood. Was it a mental health crisis? A desperate attempt to flee his old life? Or did he become the victim of a dark and sinister plot? In this episode, we unravel the strange and haunting tale of Bryce Laspisa, a story filled with unanswered questions, eerie clues, and a search for truth that continues to this day. As we delve into his final days, you'll hear about the unsettling changes in his personality, the inexplicable 13-hour stop at a remote town, and the chilling discovery of his wrecked vehicle. But the most haunting part of this story is the emptiness, the absence of Bryce himself, as if he simply vanished into thin air. What happened to Bryce Laspisa? Did he meet with foul play, or was his disappearance a deliberate act of escape? Today, we attempt to piece together the fragments of his last known moments and explore the theories that continue to captivate true crime enthusiasts and haunt his grieving parents. So, buckle up as we begin this journey into one of the most baffling missing person cases in recent memory. Bryce Laspisa was a bright, charismatic, and creative 19-year-old with a promising future ahead of him. Known for his artistic talents and infectious smile, he had just started his second year at Sierra College in Rocklin, California. He seemed to be living the typical college experience, making friends, enjoying life, and pursuing his interests. His parents, Karen and Michael Laspisa, described him as a loving son who maintained close contact with them despite being away from home. But in the weeks leading up to August 2013, something changed. Bryce's behavior began to shift in ways that left his friends and family deeply concerned. It all started subtly. Bryce, who had always been outgoing and cheerful, became more withdrawn. Friends noticed his usual energetic demeanor dimming, replaced by moments of quiet contemplation. Though he brushed off questions about his mood, there was a growing unease among those closest to him. Then came the substance use. Bryce, who wasn't known for heavy partying, started drinking excessively. Friends recalled him downing bottles of hard liquor during weeknights, an unusual habit for someone who had previously shown moderation. Even more concerning was his use of Vyvanse, a prescription stimulant typically used to treat ADHD. Taken in large doses, Vyvanse can cause severe mood swings, paranoia, and insomnia. Bryce's roommate, Sean Dixon, would later recount how Bryce stayed awake for days at a time, his eyes wide and restless. It was like he was on edge, but he wouldn't talk about what was bothering him, Sean said. The changes in Bryce's behavior reached a tipping point when he abruptly ended his relationship with his girlfriend, Kim Sly. The two had been dating for several months, and by all accounts, their relationship was stable and loving. Kim was caught off guard when Bryce sent her a sudden text message saying they were done. Confused and hurt, Kim tried to get answers. She asked Bryce why he wanted to break up, but his response was vague and unsettling: "You'll be better off without me." Concerned for his well-being, Kim decided to reach out to Bryce's parents. She described his erratic behavior, the heavy drinking, and the strange breakup. Karen and Michael were alarmed but hoped that whatever Bryce was going through would pass. On August 27, just 3 days before Bryce's disappearance, he called his mother late at night. His voice was calm but distant. Karen asked if everything was okay, and Bryce assured her it was. But when she pressed for more details about his recent behavior, Bryce simply said, "I have a lot to talk to you about, but I can't right now." Those words lingered in Karen's mind long after the call ended. What did Bryce mean? What was he holding back? On the morning of August 28, Bryce made a decision that would set the stage for the mystery to come. Without informing anyone, he packed his belongings and left his apartment in Rockland. He told his parents he was driving home to Laguna Niguel, a journey of about 7 hours. But Bryce's route home would become one of the most baffling aspects of this case. Instead of heading directly south, Bryce drove aimlessly through California. Surveillance cameras captured him purchasing gas and drinks at various stops along the way. His credit card activity showed multiple small transactions, suggesting he was wandering rather than making steady progress toward home. At one point, Bryce ended up in Buttonwillow, a small town about halfway between Rockland and Laguna Niguel. There, he spent a staggering 13 hours parked by the side of the road. A concerned roadside assistance worker named Christian noticed Bryce's car and decided to check on him. Bryce appeared calm but strangely indifferent. When Christian asked if he needed help, Bryce said no and claimed he was just resting. Christian left but returned a few hours later after Bryce's mother, worried about his prolonged stop, asked him to check again. Once more, Bryce insisted he was fine. He promised Christian he would continue his journey home soon. But he didn't. Throughout this period, Bryce remained in contact with his parents. He assured them he was on his way but gave no explanation for his erratic behavior or the long delay in Buttonwillow. Karen and Michael grew increasingly anxious. Why was their son driving in circles? What was keeping him from coming home? At one point, Karen suggested flying out to meet him and driving back together. Bryce firmly told her not to come, saying, "There's something I need to handle myself." Those words, cryptic and unsettling, would haunt Karen forever. On August 29, Bryce finally left Buttonwillow and continued driving south. His parents stayed on the phone with him, trying to keep him focused and calm. They urged him to pull over and rest if he felt tired. Late that night, Bryce called his mother once more. His voice was flat and emotionless. "I'm too tired to keep driving," he admitted. Karen, relieved that he was being cautious, told him to find a safe place to park and rest. She assumed he would be home by morning. But Bryce never made it. The events that unfolded on Bryce Laspisa's journey from Rockland to Laguna Niguel remain one of the most puzzling aspects of this case. What should have been a straightforward 7-hour drive became a chaotic and inexplicable road trip spanning nearly 2 days, filled with strange stops, erratic decisions, and unanswered questions. After leaving Rockland on August 28, Bryce didn't take the most direct route to his parents' home. Instead, he wandered across highways and through small towns with no clear destination. Surveillance footage captured his movements at various gas stations, where he calmly purchased fuel and snacks. He made no attempt to rush home despite being expected by his parents. What drove him to take this detour? Was it confusion, fear, or a deliberate effort to avoid returning home? No one knows for sure. By late afternoon, Bryce arrived in Buttonwillow, a small, unremarkable town off Interstate 5. It was the halfway point between Rockland and Laguna Niguel, but instead of continuing south, Bryce inexplicably parked his car near a rest area and sat there for 13 hours. The area was desolate, with nothing but vast stretches of flat land and the occasional passing vehicle. The question lingered, why would a young man, seemingly in a hurry to reach home, waste so much time sitting idle in such an isolated place? Witnesses later recalled seeing Bryce's vehicle parked along the road, his figure slouched behind the wheel. He didn't appear distressed, but there was a strange air of detachment about him. During this long, inexplicable stop, a roadside assistance worker named Christian came across Bryce's vehicle. Curious about the parked car, Christian approached to check if the driver needed help. Bryce appeared calm and composed, assuring Christian that everything was fine. Hours passed, and Bryce's car remained in the same spot. Christian, now growing concerned, returned to check on him again. Despite being there for several hours without moving, Bryce still insisted that he was fine. It was a baffling encounter that only deepened the mystery. Throughout this bizarre detour, Bryce remained in contact with his parents, who were growing increasingly worried. They repeatedly urged him to continue driving home, but Bryce's responses were vague and unsettling. Although he claimed he was on the way, his actions suggested otherwise. He wasn't making any meaningful progress toward Laguna Niguel, instead lingering in the Buttonwillow area for reasons known only to him. After spending most of August 29 parked in Buttonwillow, Bryce finally resumed his journey. However, his progress was slow and erratic. Surveillance footage captured him purchasing drinks and gas at multiple stops, each time appearing calm and composed but never in a hurry. The hours stretched on as Bryce's journey meandered further south, inching closer to his parents' home but never quite reaching it. By early morning on August 30, Bryce's position was being tracked through phone records and sightings. His parents were desperate for him to arrive safely, clinging to every update with growing anxiety. At approximately 2 a.m., Bryce was near the Grapevine area, a mountainous stretch of road notorious for its sharp turns and treacherous driving conditions. His mother urged him to rest if he felt tired, and Bryce assured her he would. It seemed like the worst was behind him. He was only hours away from home. But that sense of relief would be short-lived. Bryce's car continued southward until it reached the area near Castaic Lake. The winding roads and desolate landscape made it an eerie place, even in daylight. By 5:30 a.m., something went terribly wrong. Authorities would soon discover Bryce's vehicle overturned at the bottom of a 25-foot embankment near the lake. The back window had been shattered from the inside, as though someone had desperately tried to escape. His personal belongings, wallet, phone, and laptop were left behind, seemingly untouched. But Bryce himself was gone, vanished into the early morning mist. Why did Bryce spend 13 hours in Buttonwillow? What compelled him to drive aimlessly instead of heading straight home? And perhaps most hauntingly, what happened in those final moments near Castaic Lake? The bizarre road trip, filled with cryptic stops and strange decisions, only added to the mystery of Bryce Laspisa's disappearance. The last confirmed moments of Bryce Laspisa's journey are as mysterious as they are unsettling. After 2 days of erratic driving, cryptic conversations, and unexplained stops, Bryce's car was found wrecked near Castaic Lake, California, but Bryce himself was nowhere to be seen. What happened between his final phone call and the discovery of his abandoned vehicle remains a haunting question that has baffled investigators for over a decade. At around 2 a.m. on August 30, 2013, Bryce called his mother, Karen Laspisa, from somewhere near the Grapevine area. His voice was calm but tired. He told her he was exhausted and planned to pull over to rest before continuing the final leg of his journey home to Laguna Niguel. Karen, relieved that Bryce was being cautious, encouraged him to get some sleep and assured him that everything would be fine once he made it home. Bryce's parents had no way of knowing that this would be the last time they would ever hear from their son. At approximately 5:30 a.m., just a few hours after that final call, Bryce's 2003 Toyota Highlander was found overturned near Castaic Lake, about 170 miles south of Buttonwillow. The vehicle had tumbled down a 25-foot embankment and landed on its side. Investigators at the scene noted several strange details. The back window of the car had been shattered from the inside, suggesting that someone had broken it to escape. Bryce's personal belongings, including his wallet, phone, and laptop, were left inside the vehicle, untouched. There was no blood inside the car, no evidence of a violent struggle, and no signs that Bryce had been injured in the crash. It was as if he had simply vanished into thin air. Search dogs were brought in to track Bryce's scent, and they quickly picked up a trail leading away from the crash site. The trail led down a dirt path toward a nearby truck stop but then abruptly disappeared. This detail fueled speculation that Bryce may have hitchhiked away from the area, perhaps seeking help or trying to continue his journey on foot. However, despite extensive searches of the surrounding area, no trace of Bryce was ever found. The condition of the crash site raised more questions than it answered. The fact that the back window had been shattered from the inside was particularly puzzling. Why didn't Bryce simply exit through one of the doors? Had he panicked, or was there something else at play? The placement of his personal belongings also seemed odd. His wallet, phone, and laptop were neatly left behind, as if he had no intention of taking them with him. Investigators considered the possibility that Bryce had suffered a head injury or a mental breakdown that caused him to act irrationally. But without any physical evidence to support this theory, it remains speculative. The area surrounding Castaic Lake is rugged and remote, with steep hills, thick brush, and hidden ravines. It's a place where someone could easily become lost or hide if they didn't want to be found. Search teams combed the area for days, using helicopters, thermal imaging, and volunteers on foot. The lake itself was thoroughly searched, but no signs of Bryce were ever discovered. The sheer emptiness of the scene, combined with the eerie stillness of the landscape, only added to the sense of unease. As days turned into weeks, theories about what had happened to Bryce began to circulate. Some believed he had wandered off into the wilderness and succumbed to the elements. Others speculated that he had staged his disappearance, perhaps seeking a fresh start somewhere far away. There were also darker theories, whispers of foul play or a possible abduction. But without concrete evidence, all possibilities remained on the table. Karen and Michael Laspisa were devastated by their son's disappearance. They held on to hope that Bryce was still alive, clinging to the belief that he might one day walk back into their lives. In interviews, they described Bryce as a loving and kind young man who had been going through a difficult time but was strong enough to overcome it. They refused to believe he would simply vanish without a trace. Despite numerous reported sightings over the years, none have been confirmed. Bryce's face remains etched in the memories of his family and those who continue to search for answers. What happened in those final moments near Castaic Lake? Did Bryce willingly leave the scene, or was he forced to flee? And perhaps the most haunting question of all, where is Bryce Laspisa now? The absence of answers has left a void that continues to haunt his loved ones and captivate true crime enthusiasts. Until concrete evidence emerges, the mystery of Bryce Laspisa remains one of the most perplexing and chilling unsolved cases in recent memory. The search for Bryce Laspisa began immediately after his overturned vehicle was discovered near Castaic Lake. Authorities, search teams, and volunteers worked tirelessly to locate the missing 19-year-old. Despite extensive efforts, no trace of Bryce was ever found. The circumstances surrounding his disappearance gave rise to countless theories, ranging from logical explanations to eerie speculations. The rugged terrain around Castaic Lake presented significant challenges for search teams. Thick brush, steep hills, and hidden ravines made the search both physically demanding and time-consuming. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, along with search and rescue units, deployed helicopters, drones, and K-9 units to scour the area. Search dogs initially tracked Bryce's scent down a dirt path leading to a truck stop but lost the trail abruptly. Divers were sent into the murky waters of Castaic Lake to search for any signs of Bryce, but the lake yielded no clues. Volunteers combed the surrounding areas on foot, calling out Bryce's name and hoping for any response. Despite their best efforts, there were no signs of Bryce, no clothing, no footprints, and no indication that he had remained in the area. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, theories about what happened to Bryce began to circulate. The strange circumstances of his disappearance made it difficult to pinpoint a single plausible explanation. One theory was that Bryce had deliberately walked away from his life, seeking a fresh start. His behavior in the days leading up to his disappearance, giving away belongings, breaking up with his girlfriend, and acting erratically, seemed to support this idea. Some experts speculated that Bryce may have been struggling with a mental health crisis and decided to abandon his life in search of solitude. However, his parents strongly rejected this notion, insisting that Bryce would never put them through the anguish of not knowing his fate. Additionally, the lack of confirmed sightings of Bryce over the years weakened this theory. If he had chosen to disappear voluntarily, it seemed unlikely that he could remain completely off the grid for so long. Another possibility was that Bryce had wandered into the wilderness surrounding Castaic Lake and succumbed to the elements. The area is known for its harsh terrain, and temperatures can become dangerously hot during the day. If Bryce had suffered a head injury during the crash or was disoriented due to sleep deprivation or substance use, he might have become lost and succumbed to dehydration or exposure. However, the extensive search efforts should have uncovered some trace of his body if this were the case. The complete absence of physical evidence made this theory difficult to accept. Some believed that Bryce may have encountered foul play after leaving his vehicle. The fact that his scent trail led to a truck stop fueled speculation that he had hitchhiked or encountered someone who meant him harm. Truck stops are often bustling with transient individuals, making it possible for Bryce to have crossed paths with someone dangerous. However, without any witnesses or physical evidence to support this theory, it remained purely speculative. Bryce's use of Vyvanse, a prescription stimulant, combined with heavy drinking, led some to believe that he may have experienced a drug-induced psychotic break. Vyvanse can cause symptoms such as paranoia, confusion, and erratic behavior when misused or combined with alcohol. This theory suggested that Bryce's bizarre behavior during his road trip was a result of this combination, ultimately leading him to make irrational decisions, such as abandoning his vehicle and disappearing into the wilderness. However, without Bryce's presence to confirm his mental state, this theory remains speculative. The case captivated the local community and true crime enthusiasts alike. Flyers with Bryce's face were plastered across California, and social media campaigns were launched to spread awareness about his disappearance. Despite numerous reported sightings over the years, none were confirmed. Each lead seemed to bring hope, only to end in disappointment. For Bryce's parents, Karen and Michael Laspisa, the search for their son became a lifelong mission. They refused to give up hope, believing that Bryce was still out there somewhere. In interviews, Karen often described feeling as though Bryce was trying to come home but couldn't find his way. The lack of closure took a heavy toll on the Laspisa family. Their once joyful lives were overshadowed by the haunting question, what happened to Bryce? The disappearance of Bryce Laspisa remains one of the most perplexing unsolved cases in recent memory. Theories abound, but concrete answers remain elusive. Was Bryce seeking a new life, or did he meet with tragedy? Did he succumb to the elements, or was he the victim of foul play? Until new evidence emerges, these questions will continue to haunt those who seek the truth. Unlike many true crime cases, the story of Bryce Laspisa's disappearance is marked by an eerie absence of suspects, arrests, or even concrete evidence pointing to a crime. For Bryce's parents and the investigators involved, this has been one of the most frustrating aspects of the case. There is no person to hold accountable and no trial to provide answers or closure. Despite the absence of a formal arrest or legal proceedings, there are still significant moments in the investigation worth examining. These events provide insight into the challenges faced by law enforcement and the relentless pursuit of justice for the Laspisa family. When Bryce's wrecked vehicle was discovered near Castaic Lake on the morning of August 30, 2013, investigators treated it as a potential accident scene. However, As the hours and days passed with no sign of Bryce, it became clear that this was not a typical case. Detectives from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department led the investigation, initially focusing on the possibility that Bryce had wandered away from the crash site in a state of disorientation. They interviewed witnesses, including Christian, the roadside assistance worker who had interacted with Bryce twice in Buttonwillow. Christian confirmed that Bryce had appeared lucid and polite during their encounters, though his prolonged stay in Buttonwillow was puzzling. Bryce's parents also provided crucial information about his behavior leading up to the disappearance, describing his unusual actions and cryptic text messages. One of the most perplexing aspects of the case was the complete absence of physical evidence indicating foul play. The condition of the car, there was no blood or other signs of injury inside Bryce's vehicle, and the back window appeared to have been shattered from the inside, likely by Bryce himself to escape after the crash. Personal belongings, Bryce's wallet, phone, and laptop were left untouched in the car, suggesting he did not intend to vanish permanently. No signs of a struggle. The scene lacked any indication that Bryce had been forcibly removed from the area or attacked by someone. These factors made it difficult for investigators to classify the case as a criminal matter. Without evidence of a crime, there was no clear path to pursuing suspects or making an arrest. Over the years, numerous tips and reported sightings of Bryce came in from across California and even other states. Each time, investigators and the Laspisa family followed up, hoping for a breakthrough. Some witnesses claimed to have seen a young man matching Bryce's description at truck stops or homeless shelters. Others believed they had spotted Bryce hitchhiking along highways. However, none of these sightings were ever confirmed, and each lead ultimately ended in disappointment. While there was no evidence directly pointing to foul play, some investigators and true crime enthusiasts speculated that Bryce may have encountered someone dangerous after leaving his vehicle. The fact that his scent trail led to a truck stop fueled this theory. Truck stops are known for being frequented by transient individuals, and it's possible that Bryce accepted a ride from someone with ill intentions. However, without any witnesses or surveillance footage to support this theory, it remains speculative. Another avenue explored by investigators was the possibility that Bryce had suffered a mental health crisis and chosen to disappear voluntarily. Bryce's erratic behavior in the days leading up to his disappearance, combined with his use of Vyvanse and alcohol, suggested that he may have been struggling with psychological issues. Some experts believed that Bryce may have experienced a drug-induced psychotic break, leading him to abandon his car and seek refuge elsewhere. However, if Bryce had indeed chosen to start a new life, it seemed improbable that he could remain completely off the grid for over a decade without any confirmed sightings. Karen and Michael Laspisa never stopped searching for their son. They hired private investigators, distributed flyers, and maintained a strong presence on social media to keep Bryce's story alive. They also advocated for greater public awareness about mental health and substance use issues, hoping that their tragedy could serve as a warning to other families. Despite the lack of arrests or formal legal proceedings, the Laspisas continued to seek answers, clinging to the hope that Bryce was still out there somewhere. The absence of a trial in Bryce Laspisa's case highlights the complexity and heartache of unsolved missing person cases. Without a crime, there is no defendant to prosecute, no courtroom drama, and no verdict to provide closure. Instead, Bryce's story remains a haunting mystery, a reminder that not all cases end with justice served. The disappearance of Bryce Laspisa left a deep and indelible mark on his family, friends, and the broader community. As the years passed, the absence of answers only compounded the grief and confusion felt by those who knew him. The search for Bryce became a symbol of both heartbreak and hope, inspiring conversations about mental health, substance use, and the complexities of missing person cases. Karen and Michael Laspisa were thrust into a nightmare from which they have never awoken. Their lives, once filled with joy and normalcy, became dominated by the search for their son. Karen, in particular, became the public face of the family's quest for answers. She spoke in numerous interviews, her voice filled with both determination and sorrow as she recounted the events leading up to Bryce's disappearance. Michael, though less visible in the media, was equally committed to the search. Together, the couple clung to the hope that Bryce was still alive. They often described feeling a deep connection to their son, as though he were trying to reach out to them from wherever he was. Holidays, birthdays, and milestones passed with an empty seat at the table. The pain of not knowing Bryce's fate was a constant presence in their lives. Bryce's friends, many of whom were college students at the time of his disappearance, struggled to make sense of what had happened. Some felt guilt, wondering if they could have done more to prevent his erratic behavior in the days leading up to his disappearance. Others were haunted by unanswered questions. What was Bryce thinking during those final hours? Did he intend to come home but simply lose his way? The community of Rockland, California, where Bryce had attended Sierra College, and Laguna Niguel, where his parents lived, rallied around the Laspisa family. Vigils were held, and local residents volunteered in search efforts. Bryce's disappearance became a cautionary tale shared among parents and students alike. One of the most profound legacies of Bryce's disappearance has been the increased awareness it brought to issues of mental health and substance use among young adults. Karen and Michael used their platform to speak openly about the dangers of prescription stimulant misuse and the importance of mental health support. They encouraged other parents to recognize the signs of distress in their children and to seek help when needed. Their advocacy efforts resonated with many families who saw echoes of Bryce's story in their own struggles. Social media played a significant role in keeping Bryce's story alive. Online communities dedicated to true crime and missing persons cases have continued to discuss and analyze the circumstances surrounding his disappearance. Theories and speculation abound, with amateur sleuths examining every detail of Bryce's final known movements. While this attention sometimes brought renewed hope, it also exposed the family to false leads and unsubstantiated rumors. Despite the challenges, the Laspisas remained grateful for the continued interest in their son's case. They believed that keeping Bryce's story in the public eye was crucial to finding answers. Despite the pain and uncertainty, Bryce's parents have demonstrated remarkable resilience. Their love for their son remains unwavering, and they have found strength in supporting other families facing similar tragedies. They often speak of the importance of holding on to hope, even in the face of unimaginable loss. Karen has said that she dreams of the day when Bryce walks through the door, offering the reunion they have longed for. The case of Bryce Laspisa continues to haunt those who seek closure. Did Bryce choose to disappear and start a new life? Was he the victim of a tragic accident or foul play? Why did his behavior change so drastically in the days leading up to his disappearance? These questions linger, casting a shadow over the lives of everyone connected to the case. The Laspisa family remains hopeful that someone, somewhere, knows what happened to Bryce and will come forward with information. They urge the public to remain vigilant and to report any potential sightings or clues to authorities. Bryce's story is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can endure. His disappearance has inspired a community to come together, share information, and support one another in the face of uncertainty. As the years go by, Bryce Laspisa's memory lives on in the hearts of those who love him. His artistic talents, charismatic personality, and infectious smile are remembered fondly by friends and family alike. Karen and Michael continue to honor their son's legacy by advocating for awareness and supporting other families in their search for missing loved ones. The disappearance of Bryce Laspisa stands as one of the most perplexing unsolved mysteries in modern history. A young man full of potential, with his whole life ahead of him, simply vanished into the unknown without a trace. What began as a seemingly routine drive home spiraled into a baffling sequence of events that has left investigators, his family, and the public searching for answers for over a decade. The lack of resolution in Bryce's case leaves haunting questions. What truly happened in those early morning hours near Castaic Lake? Did Bryce's erratic behavior signal a deeper crisis, or was he simply a young man struggling to find his way? Was his disappearance the result of a tragic accident, or did he encounter someone or something sinister after leaving his car behind? One of the most heart-wrenching aspects of Bryce's case is the lingering uncertainty. Without tangible evidence, theories abound, but none can definitively explain his fate. Bryce's parents continue to hold on to the hope that he may one day be found, perhaps even alive. But as the years pass, that hope is tempered by the harsh reality that many missing persons cases remain unsolved forever. Yet, hope is a powerful force. It fuels the Laspisa family's search and keeps Bryce's story in the public consciousness. The unwavering support from friends, community members, and online advocates is a testament to the profound impact Bryce has had on those who know his story. Bryce's disappearance has highlighted critical conversations around mental health, substance use, and the importance of paying attention to warning signs. His story serves as a cautionary tale, urging friends and families to act swiftly when a loved one begins to exhibit unusual behavior. It's also a reminder of the gaps in our ability to track and locate missing persons, even in an era where technology is omnipresent. Cases like Bryce's underscore the need for more resources and public awareness around missing person investigations. The search for Bryce has not just been a journey for his family but for countless people who have followed the case, shared his story, and offered their support. His disappearance, while tragic, has also brought people together in a shared mission to seek truth and justice. What truly happened to Bryce Laspisa? As we delve into cases like his, we are reminded that life is fragile and the unexpected can happen to anyone. Bryce's story urges us to hold our loved ones closer, be vigilant in times of crisis, and never stop searching for the truth. If you have any information about Bryce Laspisa's whereabouts or fate, please contact the authorities. No piece of information is too small. It could be the key to finally bringing this heartbreaking mystery to a close. Thank you for joining us as we explored the haunting disappearance of Bryce Laspisa. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more true crime mysteries. And remember, stay curious, stay vigilant, and take care of one another.